Welcome back to Hardball. Let's review what Donald Trump said at NBC's Commander-in-Chief Forum last night, particularly when it comes to Russia and that classified intelligence briefing he received as the Republican nominee. Last night, Trump said that he could tell that the intelligence officials were, quote, not happy, close quote, with President Obama. Here's Trump.
What I did learn is that our leadership, Barack Obama, did not follow what our experts, and are truly, when they call it intelligence, it's there for a reason, what our experts said to do. And I was very, very surprised in almost every instance. And I could tell, I had pretty good with the body language, I could tell they were not happy. Our leaders did not follow what they were recommending.
And here's how Hillary Clinton today reacted to Trump's characterization of those briefings.
I think what he said was totally inappropriate and undisciplined. I would never comment on any aspect of an intelligence briefing that I received.
And we saw Donald Trump heaping more praise last night on Russian President Vladimir Putin, citing Putin's popularity, so-called, in Russia, and calling him a better leader than President Obama.
He does have an 82% approval rating. The man has very strong control over a country. Now, it's a very different system, and I don't happen to like the system. But certainly in that system, he's been a leader far more than our president has been a leader.
Well, when it comes to polling in this country, the USA, Putin is among the most unpopular figures NBC has ever polled. According to an NBC Wall Street Journal poll in May, just 8%, 1 in 12, say they have a positive view of Putin, while 59% say they have a negative view. I'm joined right now by an expert, Leon Panetta, the former CIA director and former Secretary of Defense, who supports Hillary Clinton for president. Mr. Secretary, first of all, the body language. Is this Trump's way of getting across something about the experts not agreeing with Obama, not respecting him without giving away a briefing? Why would he talk about, well, what is body language in the context of a briefing by professionals?
You know, I have no idea what he's reading into that presentation. All I know is every intelligence briefing I've ever had is done by professionals. They provide objective intelligence. As a matter of fact, it would be a violation of their responsibility in tradecraft if they even suggested anything related to whether policy decisions were right or wrong. So, you know, my view is that Trump didn't hear any of that. He was basically listening to the intelligence, and the intelligence is probably, you know, pretty rough intelligence about what's going on in the world. And he decided to read into that the failures that he sees in the policies that were applied. But, you know, this is a guy who, as president, is going to get a PDB every morning, an intelligence briefing every morning. He's got to listen to what's being presented. He can't spend a lot of time trying to figure out what the body language is of those making the presentation.
What did you make of, I got a comment on this, but I want to hear from you, you're an expert, because you've dealt with the world as defense secretary, as Pentagon chief. What do you make of his sort of love affair with Putin? I mean, he seems to clearly respect his leadership swag, as if he's like judging best dictator in the world contest. Like, he's not looking at him as a guy who's a potential adversary of ours, where most Americans do see him as a potential adversary. What do you think he means when he says, I think he's a better leader than Obama?
You know, I think this is the real estate developer coming out in Trump, that, you know, he loves to sit down with people, even though he may not like them. If they're tough and they're good business people, then he loves to sit down and talk with them. And he's got, you know, he's applying that same kind of standard when it comes to somebody like Putin. Putin is an adversary. Putin is somebody who has not only invaded the Crimea and gone into the Ukraine, gone into Syria, continues to come at us in a lot of different ways. He's an adversary. And as President of the United States, you know, Trump has to be smart enough to keep his feet on the ground and be able to weigh this guy based on what he's doing to the United States and protect the United States' interests. He can't get enamored by the fact that Putin is nice to him and plays to his ego.
Yeah, it's almost like it's Dick Nixon talking about John Connolly. You know, I like the cut of his jib rather than how am I going to deal with this guy?
You and I,
anyway.
You and I know politics. Politicians love to be praised by people, but when you're president of the United States, you got to be very careful about being praised by Putin or the head of North Korea or Saddam Hussein, because you got to protect the United States interests first and foremost.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think you are a moderate centrist, progressive, but you're pretty close to the center in terms of national security. And I've always wondered how you see Hillary Clinton, because my hunch about her, watching her from a bit away, is that she's going to be a notch to the right of Obama in terms of readiness to use force. Is that correct?
Chris, I think that at least my experience in the National Security Council and dealing with a number of decisions that had to be made, that she is somebody who feels strongly about advancing our interests. And if it requires that we use some of our power in order to be able to do that, I think she's willing to do that. Does that mean she's not cautious? No, she is cautious. She's thoughtful. She uses good judgment. But when it comes to protecting our interests, I think she's a little more willing to try to engage in the kind of power moves that you sometimes have to do if you want to protect United States interests.
Well, compare this to President Obama, because I know you respect President Obama, but in your book you said he avoids the battle, complains, and issues out and misses opportunities. So where would she move where the president hasn't, do you see? I mean, generally, what would she be like as compared to him?
Well, I think she's been pretty. I think she's been pretty clear with that. For example, she has said that she would increase the number of airstrikes in Syria. She's talked about establishing a no-fly zone in Syria. Right. She's talked about adding additional special forces on the ground. She's talked about trying to increase our intelligence capabilities. So what you're looking at are some of the key Obama steps, but she would just be a little more energetic in terms of the effort to try to go after ISIS.
That's very helpful. Thank you. That's the way I sort of see it, as a hunch, but you know it as an expert. Thank you so much, former Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta. Up next, a big stumble.